Hello, welcome back again with me. In this video, I would like to tell you about defining and non-defining relative clause. But first of all, my full name, Komin Melly Arsantimas. People usually call me Melly. I'm 20 years old and now I'm a student at Igusti Bagus Sugriwa Hindu State University, majoring English Language Education Department in 3rd semester, class A2 morning Denpasar. Okay, the topic that will be discussed today is about defining and non-defining relative clause. But before we talk about that topic today, we need to know what is a relative clause. Okay, a relative clause is one kind of depend clauses. It has a subject and a verb, but can stand alone as a sentence. It is sometimes called an adjective clause because it functions like an adjective. It gives more information about a noun. Relative clause always begins with a relative pronoun, which is substitutes like for a noun phrase, or a pronoun when sentences are combined. Okay, next, the defining relative clause. Okay, we use a defining relative clause to give essential information about someone or something, information that we need to order to understand what or who is being referred to. So, a defining relative clause usually comes immediately after a noun that is described. So we can know that a relative clause that is a sentence that gives to essential information about someone or something, information that we need to order understand what and who being to reference. Okay. So, in a defining relative clause, we usually use a relative pronoun. For example, like who, that, which, whose, and whom, to introduce a defining relative clause. So I made 3 examples here. First, that they are the people who hate chocolate are on command. So here the defining relative clause is start the who, because like we know, we use a relative pronoun to introduce a defining relative clause. So the defining relative clause here is who hate the chocolate are on command. Next, that they live in a house whose roof is full of holes. So here the defining relative clause start from whose, because like a sample before that, we usually use a relative pronoun to introduce or a defining of relative clause. And the last example is this is a girl who takes his responsibilities seriously. Okay, next, punctuation. Like we need to know punctuation is the more important thing in writing. Or like we talk about something, punctuation is the important thing once. So the warning in writing, defining relative clause, we don't use commas in every sentence. Okay. For the example here, this is a woman who takes his responsibilities seriously. Not this is a woman, commas, who take his responsibilities seriously. Okay, the right is this is a woman who takes his responsibilities seriously. Next, the next example, that they are the people who want to buy our car. Not they are the people who want to buy our car. After people, that we not use a comma. Okay. Okay, next, the defining relative clause. We use a defining relative clause to give extra information about the person or the things. It's not unnecessary information. We don't need to understand who or what is being referred to. Okay, one more, so we can take the conclusion for defining relative clause is defining relative clause is a sentence that give extra information about the person or thing, but it's not unnecessary information, and we don't need to understand who or what being to refer to. Okay, in non-defining relative clause, we always use a relative pronoun like who, which, whose, or whom. That same like defining relative clause to introduce a non-defining relative clause. For the example here, I made 3 examples, especially the 3 for myself and Manurias. So for that, yesterday I met a woman named Melly, whose husband worked in Spaniel. So here this will not to give extra information or necessary information and who referred to. Second, that I have just come back from Spanish, where Manu live. And the last, that we stopped at a museum which we had never visited before. Okay, that same in non-defining relative clause we need to know, and the most important thing, this is a punctuation discuss that can give a different meaning every sentence if you use the punctuation right or wrong. So the warning, in writing we use a comma around non-defining relative clauses, and we don't use that to introduce a noun or defining relative clause. Okay, in defining relative clause, the relative pronoun we use the who, that, which, whose, and whom. But in non-defining relative clause we just use who, what, which, and whom. Okay, the example here, Melly was the only player to perform well. Not Melly, that the scored 3 goals in the first games, was the only player to perform well. So like we know that in non-defining relative clause we don't need to give a more extra information or necessary informations, and don't think about who and what to revert to. Okay, so we can make it simple, but you understand what is the meaning about the sentence. So example here, Melly was the only player to perform well. Okay, the different defining relative clause with non-defining relative clause is, in defining relative clause the pronoun is who, whom, and which are after replied by that in spoken English, but in a non-defining relative clause you cannot reply other pronoun with that, like I said that before. You also cannot leave out the relative pronoun in a non-defining relative clause in the way you sometimes can in defining relative clause. The pronoun is just create even when it is not object of the verb in the relative clause. Finally, non-defining relative clause are always separated from the rest of the sentence by comma. Unlike in defining relative clause, which doesn't have a non-punctuation, like in for the simple that difference defining relative clause that I said before, that in the defining we can use relative pronoun like that, but in non-defining we can use that to refers about in the spoken English or replied after that. And in the most boring punctuation, that in defining we not use a comma, but in non-defining we use commas to tell about the sentence. Okay, because we not use that for something that in the sentence. So I think that's all for me, but if you want to know better than me and if you want to learn better than me, you can learn by yourself, and don't forget to do exercise that I made. So I want to count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, don't forget to scan the exercise and do it. So thank you for watching, and bye bye.